American Prince JFK Jr. Episode 3 is a deeply emotional and revealing conclusion to the series chronicling the last year of John F. Kennedy Jr. His life, the unraveling of his marriage and magazine, and the tragic flight that ended the hopes of a generation. This episode is packed with intimate interviews, behind the scenes drama, and the haunting legacy of the Kennedy family. If you're searching for a full recap and ending explained, you're in the right place. Let's break down every heartbreak, every challenge, and every moment that made Episode 3 unforgettable. The episode opens with a reflection on JFK Jr., his love of flying. Friends and family never understood why John needed to take up flying, but he explained that it was the only place he could be left entirely alone, a pure escape from the relentless scrutiny of his public life. The silence and solitude of the cockpit gave him a sense of freedom and control that he couldn't find anywhere else. This need for escape becomes a powerful metaphor for the pressures he faced as America's prince, always in the spotlight, always expected to live up to the Kennedy name. As the story unfolds, we see how difficult John's final year was. George Magazine, his ambitious fusion of politics and pop culture, was failing. John spent his days searching for investors, trying to save his creation, while his marriage to Carolyn Bessette was falling apart. The media hounded them, reporting on every argument and rumor, and Carolyn struggled with the loss of her own career and the overwhelming attention that came with being Mrs. Kennedy. Friends describe her as smart, ambitious, and grounded, but even she couldn't withstand the constant pressure and scrutiny. John's best friend and cousin, Anthony Radziwill, was dying of cancer, adding another layer of heartbreak to an already difficult year. The symbolism of flying, power, control, navigation, contrasted sharply with the chaos and loss in John's personal life. Despite the pain, John remained optimistic and hopeful, rarely revealing the depth of his struggles to those around him. The episode dives into the drama at George Magazine. John and his business partner Michael Berman clashed over the direction of the magazine, with advertisers and publishers pressuring John to put himself on the cover and make the magazine more about his celebrity. Editorial meetings turned into physical fights, and eventually Berman left the magazine for good. The vision for George became blurry, and John was left to shoulder the burden alone. Circulation hovered at 400,000, far short of the 600,000 needed to turn a profit, and Hachette, the publisher, threatened to pull the plug. Amidst the magazine meltdown, John faced mounting pressure to enter politics. Powerful figures encouraged him to run for office, and he considered a future as governor of New York. He looked to his father's career for inspiration, preferring the idea of an executive role over the tedium of legislative hearings. Friends and colleagues saw him as a natural leader, capable of inspiring others and setting agendas. But John struggled to find his true identity amid the expectations placed upon him. The episode's emotional core centers on John's relationships. His marriage to Carolyn was strained by the demands of fame and the loss of privacy. Carolyn quit her job at Calvin Klein, feeling overshadowed and unable to pursue her own ambitions. The couple argued over the role of celebrity in their lives, and Carolyn's involvement in the magazine added another layer of tension. Friends describe her as a taskmaster, sometimes brutal in her assessments, but also deeply invested in the look and feel of George. As the summer of 1999 approached, tragedy loomed. Anthony Radziwill's health declined, and John broke his ankle in a freak accident, leaving him in a cast for 2 months. The family gathered at Martha's vineyard, bracing for Anthony's death and the uncertainty of the future. John's optimism masked the pain he felt, but friends recall seeing him cry for the first time as he watched Anthony struggle with the effects of cancer. The final days are recounted in heartbreaking detail. John was searching for new owners for George, meeting with James and Lachlan Murdoch at a Yankees game, but the deal went nowhere. On the last night of his life, John was writing Anthony's eulogy, finally coming to terms with his cousin's impending death. The next day, John, Carolyn, and her sister Lauren boarded a plane for Martha's Vineyard, never to arrive. The news of the missing plane sent shockwaves across the country. Family and friends frantically called airports, the Coast Guard, and each other, hoping for good news that never came. The wreckage was found, and the bodies of John, Carolyn, and Lauren were recovered. The nation mourned the loss of its prince, and the Kennedy curse claimed another victim. The episode explores the aftermath of the tragedy. The streets of New York were lined with mourners, and the funeral was attended by political figures and family members, all grieving the loss of a man who meant so much to so many. John's legacy is debated. Was he the chosen one, destined to take up his father's mantle, or was he simply a man trying to find his own way in a world that demanded too much? The show ends with reflections on the Kennedy legacy, the intersection of politics and celebrity, and the generational, defining moment of John's death. Bill Clinton speaks of the family's inspiration and suffering, and historians note that John's brief success with George magazine ushered in a new era of political coverage. The tragedy of his death is compounded by the sense that he had finally figured out who he was and what he wanted to do, only to have his life cut short. American Prince JFK, JFK Episode 3 is a masterful blend of biography, drama, and cultural commentary. The writing is sharp, the interviews are raw and honest, and the story is as heartbreaking as it is compelling. Fans of the series will find plenty to ponder in this episode, from the pressures of fame to the challenges of leadership and the enduring impact of the Kennedy family. As the series concludes, viewers are left with lingering questions. What could John have accomplished if he had lived? How do we reconcile the myth of Camelot with the reality of personal struggle? What is the true legacy of America's prince? The answers may never come, but Episode 3 offers a powerful and unforgettable glimpse into the life and loss of John F. Kennedy Jr.